Good evening, I'm Cynthia Ng. You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight. Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim has appealed to the people to give his administration a few years to prove its good governance. He said that corrupt practices have become systemic within the administration and he needs time to eliminate such practices.
Tetapi bagi tempoh kita untuk beberapa tahun ini, untuk membuktikan pertama, tata kelola yang baik, hentikan amalan sakau menyakau ini. Dan dengan hasil kita yang lebih baik, beri keadilan kepada orang yang berkorban untuk mengawal dan meningkatkan ekonomi negara.
Anwar said that now that the general election is over, the time has come to work together and move forward in peace. He added that his administration is open to working with state governments, including those under Perikatan Nasional, for the sake of the public.
Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim dismissed claims that he has been cruel towards states governed by the opposition. He stressed that his government has been fair to all, with increased allocation already given to the opposition bloc.
Kita diserang kerana kononnya zalim kepada negeri-negeri pembangkang. Tanya Ketua Menteri 2-3 tahun ini, bagaimana layanan kerajaan persekutuan terhadap Pulau Pinang. Ini Pulau Pinang kita dah maju, dah sudah. Semua projek-projek penting itu ditahan. Banding dengan kita sekarang dalam kerajaan perpaduan. 4 negeri pembangkang, semua mendapat peruntukan yang lebih daripada sebelumnya. Tahun ini, Belanjawan Madani 2023, Kelantan, Terengganu, Kedah dan Perlis mendapat peruntukan lebih tinggi daripada tahun sebelumnya.
EPF Account to Support Facility or FSA2 borrowers who fail to repay their loan within the stipulated time frame are at risk of being blacklisted. However, Deputy Finance Minister Datuk Sri Ahmad Maslan said the banks cannot take the borrowers' money in the account until they reach 50 years old because the facility is not a collateral.
The EPF clarified last week that FSA2 is aimed at those with income. Eligible members can apply for personal financing of up to 50,000 ringgit from banking institution by using their account to balance to support their loans, provided they have a minimum of 3,000 ringgit in the account. The first phase of the scheme began on April 7th for those over 40, while the second phase for those under 40 will be announced in due course. Ahmad said that members must continue to make their monthly repayment with an annual interest rate of 4.5%. Last month, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim said the government was considering using EPF savings as collateral for emergency loans, following repeated calls from the opposition to allow more EPF withdrawals.
More public hospitals will extend their operating hours as part of the government's efforts to reduce overcrowding in emergency departments. According to Health Minister Dr. Zaleha Mustafa, the 5 hospitals are in Gombak, Hulu Langat, Ipoh, Johor Bahru and Kuala Lumpur.
Describing the pilot project as a success, Zaleha said easing of congestion can especially be seen on weekends, urging more health clinics to take part in the initiative. Other long-term measures are also being mooted by her ministry, such as reviewing existing guidelines and expanding virtual healthcare services. On March 11, the government extended hours at 52 health clinics nationwide as a measure to reduce overcrowding in hospital emergency departments. The operating hours for health clinics in the Klang Valley were extended from 8 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. from Monday to Friday. They are also open from 8 a.m. to noon on Saturdays. While in Kedah, Kelantan and Johor, the operating hours were also extended to 9:30 p.m. from Sunday to Thursday. They are also open from 8 a.m. to noon on Saturday.
The government will launch an environmental, social and governance ESG framework by year-end to assist SMEs transition to become ESG compliant. Emily Oy, Director of the Business Council for Sustainable Development Malaysia, highlights key areas for the government to focus on when drafting the framework.
familiar with the ESG field, actually there's a lot of different international and even national level framework and guidelines available for companies. So one very key thing that the SMEs are facing is struggling to understand these different frameworks out there and which one should they follow. So I really hope that this framework does not come up with another national standards. I hope it is more of a mapping of existing frameworks and guidelines so that it will be simplified and SMEs can have a easier glimpse and grasp of how to actually understand these frameworks. Yeah. And I think the second part is about capacity building. I really think this is very much needed for the SMEs simply because, like I mentioned, they're still struggling to recover from the pandemic. So I really think capacity building should be one of the main pillars. And it's not just about training, but also sector-specific guidance. Because under manufacturing sector, as you know, Malaysia also has electronic and electrical and also chemicals, petrochemicals and so on. So it is also very diverse, even under the manufacturing spectrum. So if there is any sector-specific guideline and specific materials for the sectors, I think that would be really helpful because they all have, they're facing very different challenges and a different landscape from a trading perspective and also regulation perspective.
Emily said SMEs have no time to lose when it comes to being ESG compliant in order to remain relevant in today's market.
They have no choice, really, because at this point of time, it is a direct trade competition problem. It's about survival. And it really hits hard on a lot of companies. So it's not really the matter of if I want to follow or not. It's the matter of staying relevant. So they like it or not, they have to actually try to understand it first. Yeah, and that is actually the sentiment that we're getting right now because recently in Kuala Lumpur, at least, there are more and more talks about greening or make the supply chain more sustainable. So I think SMEs, the business associations and also some of the key SMEs players actually taking more role in creating this kind of awareness. So more and more businesses, the SMEs are actually much more aware. And I think they're starting to move from not sure what exactly is ESG to now they're asking the question of how can we then do something about it.
We'll take a quick break. Stay tuned for more.
Kita menang! Bau badan? Kumanlah puncanya. Gunakan mandian badan Lifebuoy Coconut dan Cool Fresh. Ia memberikan 12 jam kesegaran dan melindungi daripada kuman punca bau badan. Lifebuoy Coconut dan Cool Fresh.
Sering menggaya dan menyikat menyebabkan rambut gugur. Lupakan rambut gugur. Dove Hair Boost Nourishment Baharu. Shampoo bertekstur ringan dengan micellar membersih akar rambut dan kalsium kompleks menguatkan rambut untuk 10 kali kurang rambut gugur. Dove Baharu.
A powerful tropical cyclone has struck northwest Australia, bringing the strongest winds the country has ever recorded. But officials said towns and cities appeared to have escaped the worst of the storm.
Tropical cyclone Elsa was upgraded to a Category 5 storm, the strongest on the scale, shortly before making landfall near the sparsely populated town of Pantau, northeast of Perth. According to the National Meteorology Bureau, the cyclone brought wind gusts of 289 km per hour, believed to be the strongest ever recorded in Australia. Elsa also set an Australian record for the highest sustained wind speed over a 10-minute period, averaging 218 km per hour. The previous record was 194 km per hour, set by Cyclone George in 2007. The cyclone has since been downgraded to a Category 2, but authorities issued new red alerts as the storm moved inland.
German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock urged Beijing to ask Russia to stop the war in Ukraine, saying that no other country had more influence on Russia than China. This came after other European Union countries made similar calls for Beijing to play a greater role in resolving the crisis.
She was speaking after meeting her Chinese counterpart Qin Gang in Beijing. Baerbock's visit to Beijing comes a week after that of French President Emmanuel Macron and European Commission head Ursula von der Leyen. Meanwhile, Qin said that China believes the only way to resolve the Ukraine crisis is to promote peace and talks. China has positioned itself as neutral throughout the conflict, but Western powers accuse it of favoring its traditional ally Russia. Baerbock also warned China against using military force against Taiwan, days after Beijing carried out military exercises near the self-ruled island. Beijing claims the self-ruled democratic island as its own territory and has vowed to take it by force if necessary.
One person was killed while a dozen others were injured after a tourist bus crashed in central South Korea. Police said the bus carrying 33 Israeli tourists. They were traveling from the popular historic city of Gyeongju when it overturned after taking a sharp turn late on Thursday.
Images in local media showed a bus with a shattered windscreen lying on its side on a road. The Israeli Foreign Ministry has confirmed that an Israeli woman was killed and the rest of the passengers were injured, some seriously. Investigators said the passengers on the bus were in their 50s to 70s and had arrived in the country last week. They were due to visit a national park in the northeast and leave on Monday after spending a day in an area of Cheongju known for its hot springs.
The World Health Organization estimated that 1 in 100 children are on the autism spectrum. While Malaysia has made progress in terms of autism awareness, Joshbert Isaacs from Early Autism Project Malaysia says that some challenges still persist.
I think for all age groups in the area of autism or special needs, it is really access to good quality services. And that's still reflective even in their youth and even in all the different presentations or workshops we're part of. If you look at the Q&A questions coming from the public, it is always where can I get good quality services, free services, accessibility to services that will actually help their child. And so then even as a youth, you need those services, like whether it's social skills groups or whether it's vocational training that can actually help them be independent, be socially appropriate and have a meaningful life. And then of course you've got the acceptance elements where can they actually go to the community, or can they actually get a job eventually. So I think those are challenges that are very, very real, and depending on which maybe income level you are and how much personal resource you have, you may have better access, but others still may not.
Besides limited access to resources, certain states and rural areas also lack healthcare providers to treat individuals with autism.
I think I would focus on the rural areas because there's still so much development that needs to be done, not only like in access to services, but as well as professionals, because there's a lack of professional people who are able to take care of these children. Like for example, because the Bukit Padang Psychiatric Hospital is the only psychiatric hospital in Sabah, they will have to, segregate their manpower to go to each districts in Sabah. So it could take like once every 2 months for a child to actually receive some sort of services, if they are even diagnosed. So of course, I think on top of accessibility to services, we should also focus on the professionals that we are sending out to take care of the children.
Catch the full conversation on Astro AWANI's It's About Youth at 10:30 p.m.
That wraps up AWANI Tonight. I am Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching and good night.
Waalaikumsalam. Sempena Ramadan dan Raya